All right, it's Monday and back at the Rusty Beauties shop and on the 1962 Triumph TR4 project. Lynn's fighting with a midget. No, not that kind of midget. It's not midget wrestling. It's that kind of midget.
It's kind of a midget wrestling,
Yeah. So he's trying to get the engine back into that thing and transmission. So I'll let him play with that and I'll play with the TR4. I'm not going to do anything too difficult today. At least I hope it's not too difficult. We are going to disassemble the doors in order to fix the door tracks, channels, whatever you want to call them. They look like they need to be refelted for sure. The glass is just kind of sitting in there very loosely. It doesn't like to wind up very well up and down, and it seems to jump out of the track. So we'll have to figure out what's going on there. Not sure if the window is actually even in its track down here or whether the glazing strip has maybe come off. So we'll investigate. So we'll pull this thing apart and have a look. All right, we managed to get the interior of the door stripped down, and it's a little bit different than a TR6 or a TR250, so I muddled my way through it. It's definitely different than a TR3 door. That's a joke. Might take a minute for you to kick in. Anyway, there's the crank mechanism, and we managed to get that out in one piece. And the only reason that happened is because the glass came out of the channel. Normally, I believe on the back of this, there's two little spring clips here that don't look like very much fun to get on and back off, or off and back on, let's say. So we managed to get that out. We've got a new glazing strip for the glass. Here are the rest of the components, the mechanism for the door opener. There's the door spreader bar at the bottom here. This is the door rest, where the door sits on at the very bottom. And here are the channels that have seen better days that need to be relined. The inside one is a little bent, so we'll endeavor to straighten that out. These are available, I believe, to buy new. I'm not sure if the whole assembly is available new, but the actual track is available, and then you have to rivet your ends back on. The ends are a little bit loose, so we'll have to try to tighten those up. And as you can see, the felt that was in there is pretty well non-existent. So what we're going to do is we're going to reline these with some Velcro, soft-sided Velcro, self-adhesive soft-sided Velcro to reline these tracks before we put them in. And that'll keep the glass from rattling around inside the door. And like I said, we'll fix the bend in that one track, which should keep the window being guided up and down a little bit easier. All right, so we'll go around to the other side. We'll pull out the inside components of that door as well, so we can do the relining of those channels all at the same time. All right, Wednesday the 19th of July, and back at the Rusty Beauty shop, and working on some more projects underneath the car. Running out of projects underneath the car, which is good. We've got the new emergency brake cable for the car. There's the Moss part number. We need to install this and remove the old one. We've partially kind of removed it. I know the clevis pin was removed at the rear, and the pinch bolt. So we're going to remove the rest of it and install that. After that, we're going to install a new fuel line. We've got a coil of brand new coil of 5/16 fuel line over here in the big box, stainless steel line. And we've got some 1/4-inch line here to run a fuel line in the engine compartment from the pump to the carbs. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that today as well. Anything else we do above and beyond that is kind of a bonus for today. That's the scope of the work today anyway, so nothing too crazy. I did bring the .5. We might be able to do the clutch and brake hydraulics today if we have some time. So we'll see how things go, but first thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the car, and what are we going to do?
We're going to get crack-a-lackin'.
Get crack-a-lackin'. All right, well, Lynn's working under the car on that emergency brake cable. I figured I'd come out here and paint the exterior of this radiator shroud and make it look a little bit better, make it look a little bit more like how the inside is finished. So we're going to be using the Duplicolor truck bed liner on this to see how that looks. I think it'll probably work out okay. Should protect it as well from the elements. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll probably do a couple coats on that. Hopefully it's not going to rain in the next little while. So we'll get that underway while we can. All right, we're draining the fuel, and it's a lovely yellow brown color. So maybe a little varnish in there. So fortunately, it doesn't look like we have too much fuel in the tank, which is good. So Lynn's done the emergency brake cable. We've adjusted the rear brakes. So we've adjusted the adjusters on the back of the brakes themselves, and we've adjusted the short lines that go to either side to pull on the levers. So the emergency brake seems to be working quite well now. So that's, oh, almost missed the pan there. I did paint this thing out here with the bed liner. And of course, you know where they put the moss stickers on, of course it raises the fibers a little bit, so you get a little impression of where the labels were, no matter how you take them off. So that's another stupid thing they do, is actually stick labels on the outside where you're going to be able to see them. And there's no way to get them off without kind of wrecking it. But hey, that's another complaint. Other than that, I bent up a quick fuel line here for the line to the carburetors from the fuel pump. So that just goes over this way here. You know, hook up something like that with a soft line. I've got the ferrules ready over here for these other two lines that we've got. So here are the fittings for the fuel pump. We're going to make up two new lines, one in, one out, and they're the olives. So we'll do that. We've got that big box of 5/16 fuel line standing by here. And it's, like I said, stainless steel line. So I'm going to get to that probably shortly once that fuel drains out. We invented a new game called Fishing for Bolts.
It's, you know what it is?
No.
It's aluminum cover from fuel additive or something.
Oh, yeah, we can see something down in the tank. We can see it with a Lynn's camera, but if it's aluminum,
There you go.
we're not going to be able to grab it. So I'd really like to get it out of here. So there you can see what we're seeing.
It is. I can see it clearly.
But the bottom of the tank actually looks pretty good. Really, there's not a lot of rust in there, it doesn't look like. So I'd really like to get that out if possible. All right. So we'll keep fishing.
Yeah, move this.
The first one to get it out wins a prize.
Problem
beer.
Is it's aluminum.
You win a beer if you get it out.
Problem is it's aluminum, doesn't catch the magnet.
Do you have a pair of forceps? Forceps, long ones?
Not that long.
Oh. All right. Lynn wins the beer. There it is. That was in the bottom of the tank. So it's exactly what it is. It's, you know, the little foil cover on probably a fuel additive. So here's what he did. So we couldn't get it with the short tube, so we used a longer tube on a suction pump, so brake bleeder, and we're able to suck it up out of there. So I had an attempt at it first. I couldn't get it, so he gave it a shot and wins a beer.
This fuel was meant to pass through this tube, and even though we cut the line, it still passed through this tube.
Anyway, so I'm happy we got that out. That would have bothered me. Well, unfortunately, we're having to take the tank out anyway, as the fitting is kind of not wanting to come off the bottom of the tank. We've got the fitting loose, but it won't pull off the bottom of the tank, so we're not quite sure what's going on there. So we've decided to actually pull the tank out in its entirety and have a look from the bottom side to see if we can figure it out a little bit better. So Lynn's just doing the clamps on the hose at the top. Then we'll undo I think there's 6 bolts around the perimeter of the tank. And we've got to be conscious of this little overflow on this side that got to pull out of the body as we move the tank out. Okay, so found our problem. The weld is actually broken on the actual fitting to the tank. So we're gonna have to get that welded back in there. So that's gonna have to be sent off to a shop in Aurora, Ontario, which is the next town south of me. They do radiator and gas tank repairs, I believe, so I'll probably take it there. I think what we'll do now is we'll just take the overflow line off, we'll take the sending unit out, and then we'll take this in to get repaired. That's my only option. So we got to do what we got to do. But the fuel line needed changing anyway, so it's not like this was something we couldn't do. It's just unfortunate that sometimes things happen, and there's no fault of anyone's. It's an old fitting. It's seized on there, so it just broke the welds around the bottom of the tank. All right. It happens. All right, there is the ugly fuel that's coming out of the old line from underneath the car. So Helen's just snaking that out. Okay, good job. So definitely glad that we're changing this out. We think we had a bit of a, yeah, we had a major kink over here. And I think we had a bit of a hole somewhere around there. So anyway, that will benefit from some new line for sure. And of course there's the last end of it where it goes into, or broke off from the tank. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll fit that now. Stainless steel line, so he's going to have to probably have a little bit of tools to bend this, because he won't be able to bend it by hand like the nickel copper lines. I can edit it. Yeah, retake it.
Yeah, you were gonna edit another one and then you left it. Anyway, so the new line is done. It's pretty hard to bend. We used these two, and where's the other two? And these two, yeah. And it worked somewhat. It's pretty similar. So now let's see if it is gonna fit. I had to bend the old one out right here in the middle to take it out. So I'm hoping that I don't need to bend this one because I'm not gonna be able to straighten it under the car after. But anyway, let's try. All right, so it's installed and it matches, surprisingly, it matches the shape of the frame and all the clips. There's one here, which is not very stable anymore, but it is there. And then it goes here. There's another clip, goes through that hole. This curve, I'm not sure why it was there, and I spent time copying it from the original, but it is there. We made it. Then it goes through the frame and continues this way, matches this clip here. Here there's no clip, unless this one is broken, I don't know. But maybe we can zip tie it or something. And then it goes up and ends up there. And David is gonna install filter and a shut-off valve and all that good stuff. So that's it. So now we have to make the other one that we snapped, the one that... Okay. So now we have to make the other one that connects here with the flexible hose, goes up above the axle, then it goes down, makes a loop, and goes into this hole, which is for the gas tank.
All right. Okay. We are just about to start bleeding the brakes. So we are using, I think I mentioned that we're going to be using .5. I use it in all my TRs, so that's a topic of a conversation for you all in the comment section. Anyway, I'm using .5, and since we have all new lines, all new cylinders, all new calipers, etc., it's a good time to do it. So we're going to do a manual bleed. We do have a vacuum bleeder, but I think we're just going to go with a manual bleed and see how it goes. So we'll keep an eye on the level in the master cylinder. We're going to start at the farthest cylinder away from the master cylinder. So we're going to start on the left side.
Wrong.
Right rear.
Wrong.
Front rear.
Left rear.
Left rear.
That's the farthest in TR4 because it goes this way, and then it goes that way.
Okay.
So on TR6, that's the farthest, but on TR4, that's the farthest.
Okay. So there's the master.
Okay, so the other line is made as well. It's connected with the flexi line here. The clamps we're gonna tighten some other time because for now we might need to take it out at some point to do that connection. But we have the clamps here. There was another clip here that was holding the line up there, but it snapped unfortunately. So David is gonna see if he has something else that we can use there. This is the loop that we make here, and it goes inside the tank. Once the tank is back from welding, we're gonna figure out how long we want it, and we're gonna shorten it, and we're gonna put the furrow, what?
Fitting.
The fitting, the olive.
The compression fitting.
Yeah. So, few lines for now completed.
All right, it's getting kind of late out in the Rusty Beauties garage, but we thought we'd give you one last shot of the car with the new rims on and new tires, and I think they look pretty good. Car sits up a little higher than I like, but I I think what we might do is we might end up getting another set of tires for the car, because we discovered that even though we had a tire shop put these on yesterday and balance them, it looks like we have a flat spot or a bad spot or a soft spot, or whatever you want to call it, actually on one of the passenger side tires. So it looks like we need a set of new tires. So we may go a little bit larger on the sidewall profiles of the tires. But I think they look really good on the car. I don't know what you guys think, but I like them. So I'll just show you the other side. We managed to get done what we wanted to get done today. So we said we were going to get the emergency brake line installed. We got the rear brakes adjusted. We ended up doing the fuel line. And obviously we had an issue with the tank, but that's another story. And then we said we were going to bleed the brakes and the clutch system. And we did that successfully. So we have clutch and brakes ready to go. So we did pretty well. I also ran the fuel line in the engine bay and one of the fuel lines for the fuel pump. So yeah, we did pretty good again. And I'm quite happy with the way that's looking. We do have a little bit of an issue with the wheel weights that were installed. They seem to be, I think, hitting the control arms. So we either need to do stick-on weights, or we need to see if we can clearance the upper control arms a little bit. But anyway, that's for another day. What's that?
Problems removed.
Oh, one of the wheel weights is already off. So anyway, like I said, we've got to get new tires now anyway. So we're going to have to go through the whole balancing process and removal and balancing again. So maybe we'll do with the stick-on weights, and then that will solve our issue with the wheel weights coming in contact with the control arms at the front. All right, I think that's it for tonight, guys. We'll come back tomorrow, possibly. I think we have some more parts arriving. I know my high torque starter is supposed to be arriving. I've got another box from Moss arriving that I'm not quite sure what's in it. So we'll maybe come back tomorrow late afternoon and after work, and see if we can install the high torque starter. And maybe what we'll start doing is doing some tire shopping in the meantime and figure out what kind of tires we want to buy for this car. And we'll go through the whole process again of taking these tires off and putting new tires on. All right, that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. All right, Friday afternoon back at the Rusty Beauties shop. And we've got the TR4 back in the garage. Looking forward to working on it, at least for today and maybe tomorrow and possibly Sunday. We'll see how things go. I may have to work on it independently at some point, but that's okay. It's looking good with those rims, although, like I'd mentioned in the last video, we had a few issues with them, but it's still looking good in my mind. Today, we managed to pick some parts up at the parts store, or at my mailbox, and we have our high torque starter has arrived, so we're going to be able to put that in today. I always try to give you an idea of what kind of jobs we're going to be working on today. So high torque starter. Once we get the high torque starter in, that means that we can probably install the rebuilt carburetors from Dr. Carburetor, which we have sitting down here. So I'll maybe install those today. We also picked up, we had that problem on the last video with the fuel tank. So I've gone down to visit a buddy of mine named Fid. Fid has dropped an engine and transmission off here at the shop for a Lynn to rebuild. Fid has a 69 TR6. Anyway, he's got this spare fuel tank that he got from a gentleman by the name of Paul, who did an electric, or E-Fire, I think he called it, TR6 conversion, so he didn't need the gas tank. So oddly enough, I've now got the gas tank and the seats from that TR6. So I'm getting that car one piece at a time, I think. So anyway, we're thinking of installing, it's in good shape inside, and it doesn't have the problem with the bung that actually became detached off the TR4 tank. So I believe the tanks are interchangeable. We're going to confirm that. So we can get the tank in, we can get all the lines run in the rear and get all those things hooked up. So that's another job that we want to do. So again, we're just crossing items off the list. I'll be happy if we get those things done that I just mentioned today, and then anything we do on top of that will be gravy, as they say. So you ready to get crack-a-lacking for the day?
Let's get crack-a-lacking.
All right, let her rip. All right, a bit more info on the high torque starter. So I always tend to buy my high torque starters from BritishStarters.com. I've never had an issue with them, so it is specifically for the TR4, so that should fit up nicely down in that hole. I do like high torque starters versus the stock starters that just spin the engine up much more freely at the beginning. And as I mentioned, I think in one of my comments to a comment section, it's always good to be able to use the starter to move the car off the road in a hurry. If you happen to break down in traffic or something like that, it's nice to have a high torque starter. So we'll fit that, and then we'll move on to the next little job. Okay, I'm working on the fuel pump side, and we've got a new Wix filter. There's the Wix fuel filter number for anybody that's interested. We are going to be doing an inline shutoff valve. So this is just an Amazon purchase, 5/16 barbs on both sides. So this goes before the fuel pump. So if you ever never need to exchange your fuel pump out on the side of the road, at least you can shut your fuel off from the tank. It comes in quite handy. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this installed, at least on the inlet side of the pump, and then we'll work on the outlet side of the pump. All right, quick update for you. High torque starters installed and wired. We've swapped the battery cables around, so those are ready to go. We've put the new ground on one of the transmission bolts over here, and also have it against the firewall or bulkhead. That's interesting. Just coolant again. Lynn's just jacking the rear of the car up so we can get to the fuel fittings underneath. So this is all plumbed in now as far as inlet and outlet, as well as the filter and the shutoff down there. I think you can probably see that. So we are going to get some new clamps for this. We just don't have small enough clamps, so those are on the shopping list. We have a new green battery disconnect, quick disconnect is installed as well. Out here, we managed to, what the heck? We managed to fit a new line to the bottom of the new tank, so that's looking good. New ferrule in there, so that's a nice solid fit. So yeah, I think we're getting ready to install the tank at any moment, so we'll go and do that now. All right, things are going pretty well. The tank went in quite easily, actually, so it looks good in there. We're just doing the piping, the connection to the hard line on the bottom. So other than that, everything is wired back up, ground wired, secured, and good to go. So that's looking good. So we'll just finish up the rubber connector here. We took this bracket off. This is the fender stay to frame, as it's kind of rotted out on the top end of it, so we need to do a repair on there. Needed a torch to get that off, so that'll be repaired in short order. So making progress. While we're under here, we're going to fill up the differential with GL4. We're using Miller oils for that, the classic. Let's see what I got here. Don't even know where it is now. Oh, here it is. So this is what we're using for the differential. The classic gear oil 8090 from Miller Oils. So we'll do that while we're under there. We'll also grease the grease nipples on the handbrake compensator and on the actual handbrake cable. There's also a spring that keeps the cable up from hanging, and we'll apply that. There's a little tab on the body that keeps the handbrake cable in situ, so we'll apply that while we're under. The back of that car is looking really good. We were just commenting up to about halfway, it looks fantastic. And then it gets a little bit more scrabby as you go past the midway point because it hasn't been cleaned and painted yet under there. So anyway, looking good. We'll continue on.
All right, so the fuel line is connected. We put this short hose here to make it more flexible and to make our lives easier. It's held now here with another clamp because the other one broke. This short line is also tight now. We also tightened a little bit the e-brake because it wasn't holding enough. We greased this nipple. We greased here and here a little bit on the compensator. And that's everything, I think, for now. Now we're just gonna refill the differential, and I believe we're done here. Oh, we have to tighten these bolts because we left them loose before, because David was thinking of replacing the shocks, but turns out they're pretty good. So we need to tighten these bolts, and we're pretty much done here for now. So that's it.
All right, we've completed all the jobs on the rear end, including filling the differential and tightening everything up. So I think it's about time now we can actually go ahead and install the exhaust. So I did clean the tips up a little bit. They're not perfect, but maybe I'll clean them a bit more once they're on the car. So this is ready to go. The clamp is installed in the center, and we do have a rear hanger there installed. So should be able to fit this fairly easily, cross our fingers. So let's see if we can get this on the car. All right, I guess now's the time to fill up this big empty hole. We've got the exhaust on and tightened down, so that's checked off the list. So we've got our carburetors, our newly rebuilt carburetors back from Dr. Carburetor. So those look good, nice and clean. So we're just about to put these on the car. We've got the freshly painted manifold, so we'll do our best to get these installed in one piece and then hooked up.
Yeah, the carburetor guy. Oh my god, I just scratched the hood. Oh, they don't even fit.
Anyway, we'll get them in place and we'll come back and we'll show you once they're tightened down. They're gonna look good. Beautiful. All right, we're gonna call the carburetors pretty much installed. We still need to add a few clamps here and there. We just ran out of clamps. So, but as far as installation is concerned, they're pretty well done. Obviously need to do the choke cable still, but they're actually on the car. Fuel lines hooked up all the way across to the fuel pump. So that's looking good. One more thing checked off the list. Don't take that battery box out. We don't want to see what's under there.
Oh, okay. That's why we never clean it.
We might take it out to clean it, but that's about it. So I think that is going to be it for tonight. It's coming up to 9 o'clock probably-ish, somewhere around there.
9, 10.
So we're going to call an end to this video. I think we have enough footage of random stuff over the last few days to put a video up so you can see how we're progressing on the car. Some of the things we need to revisit, like the rims and tires, but anyway, that's no biggie. We'll get to that eventually. So I think what we can do now is we're almost wrapped up in the engine bay outside of the steering shaft and the radiator hoses, which I keep coming back to. That's why we haven't done the shroud yet. So we'll come and do that. Probably the next thing I'll do is I'll probably take the steering shaft out and we'll figure something out. I do have parts on order for the rubber couplings, and I do have a universal joint that we're going to try to attach to the bottom of the steering rack. Then I think what we're going to do the next time I have a Lynn here, if he might be doing family things on the weekend, but the next time he and I are together, we're going to put the dash back in so we can then start on the wiring, or he can then start on the wiring. So we're looking forward to that. The dash is just sitting over there, ready to go in. So yeah, we're making progress. I am still got my homework to do on the door channels. So I've got some work to do at home before I come back here and try to put the doors back together. Of course, I have the door panels at home, which I've refinished. We have the convertible top at home, which I'll bring back. I've got to bring over the transmission tunnel. I do have a seal kit and fastener kit for that. So we're not going to put the tunnel on though until we actually try the transmission out to make sure everything works. I do have the seats for it at home as well. The seats out of the TR250 are going to go in this. So they're actually perfectly matched. They are black with white piping, so they'll match the interior perfectly. So yeah, it's getting pretty close to getting the interior put back in and finally getting out for a road test. So anyway, like I said, we got enough random video footage, I think, to do a video for tonight. So we'll call it an evening out here and get it back out here over the weekend, hopefully. All right, thanks for the help. We'll see you on the next video. You want to play a little outro? No? Oh, he was playing some nice guitar music for me earlier, serenading me. All right, that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, and thanks for subscribing. We'll see you on the next one.